What up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from Dyslexic Investor, and we're looking at Modernum. Modernum. There has been a lot of news around this. As the stock kind of rose up again. This is within the pharmaceutical business. They said they created a vac for the virus that could potentially showing on phase 1 on human testing. It was very positive. The stock popped on it quite a bit. But then some disclosed stuff started coming out, and people kind of started manipulating it in a certain direction. So the way I understand it, with people who want to sell shares in the company, they have to do this months ahead of time, and that it has to be legally okayed, I believe, by the SEC. Saying that this is going to be okay, and they put their requests in before the quarter and so forth. That's not saying that there wasn't any malplay here. That's still the red flag for a lot of people. So they're saying some top 5 of the executives within Moderna sold about $90 million of shares this year alone. And they had a little interesting graph that I saw on a particular CNBC video that I watched. All these little orange dots here were times that the insider sellings took place. So there's quite a bit of insider selling. Again, it doesn't give me the direct amount of how much and when that the selling did occur on those days, but there are some other sites that we can kind of look at to kind of give a. We're gonna pull up Finviz here. You can kind of see here, so the CEO did some sales at literally at 68. Some of the other directors here did at 68, 69, selling 500,000 shares, a value of around $34 million. And it shows their total amount of shares. So this is actually a firm here. Then you can see just again, this is going to be tracking all the insider stuff. So we're seeing May 26th, we had quite a bit here. May 20th, so we kind of overlay this with the other things, seeing potential of May 20s. A lot of stuff happened in April and May. And then, of course, you can kind of see this ongoing stuff. So the president and the chief medical officer sold some at 18. Okay. Then the following month they sold some more again around 23, 30. That's the chief financial officer, chief medical officer again, selling another 10,000 shares, showing another 230 shares there. So we look at the chief medical office again, selling another 10,000 shares at basically 32, and then it kind of goes into another one literally a week later, 2 weeks later, 10 days later, sells another 10,000. You can really break this down really crazy. Another 10,000. That's the chief medical officer as well again, which is kind of that was weird. How did the chief medical officer sold for 10,000 and he has 3,200 shares left, but then he wants to sell another batch, but he has more shares now? Or is that that's the value? My bad. That's the overall value. This is the total number of shares he has left here. So he's got 5,000 shares left, basically. Wrong person. 50,000 shares left here, moving up the total value here. But then you start seeing again the other chief of medical office here. The president selling here at 50, and we can go through to the chart here in a second. So this is again, the SEC will investigate this if they do fit so. We'll see what happens. This is quite common, I believe, within the pharmaceutical industry, due to a lot of folks projecting out that there could have something, so they're putting in their paperwork to, like, okay, in 3 months sell 10,000 shares for the tracking of 2 weeks. I'm not exactly sure. I've never filled out that form. I've never been a president or a C-suite executive at one of these big pharmaceutical companies, or actually any big company. So this is also on the heels of it that their decision was to raise more than $1 billion in stock offerings. And this is actually something that I have seen before and quite a bit. So after a stock has a huge run up, okay, so here's actually some of the more indicative of the shares that were sold. Basically, usually when the stock does run up, the company wants to kind of do some share offering to raise money. Again, they're going to need a lot of money to manufacture and produce this vac to help with the virus and the spread going forth. So that being said, that's going to be it takes a lot of capital to do so. And again, this is on the whim of everything working out. So investors are taking the risk as well on seeing this potentially going higher. If you look at some of the projections going out here from an upgrade or downgrade, some of them, this is not really the most accurate, but there's some articles that are saying $100 stock easily within the next 12 to 18 months. Again, anyone knows, no one has a crystal ball, so that being said, just be super mindful of that. Definitely, I'm going to link all 3 of these articles down below in the description, so go ahead and take a look at that. I don't like to read too much into insider selling or trading. I only kind of give it some 2 cents of the mind when a stock is crashing down and you see a lot of the executives buying it. That doesn't make it a 100% buy the stock. It just kind of gives me like, okay, they're actually putting skin in the game, and rather than just taking skin out of it. So if they actually think it's going to be $100 a share or something, why aren't they waiting for it to sell up there? So this is just kind of my 2 cents. And again, people sell their shares for whatever reasons. They're getting used, they have to pay for whatever reasons. They need to get that new pool in the backyard, whatever. It can break down to different various things. They need to pay for their ailing parents, or they have to pay for their daughter's college. Who knows? Like, just be very super mindful of just not completely trading off what the insiders are doing, because there's usually some other narrative that is besides that. So that being said, we can go ahead and just pull up the chart. Again, ticker symbol is MRNA. As you can see here, it's been basically trading between $11 to $16, $17 literally for quite some time, and then when the overall virus hit, you kind of see some spikes up here. Nothing to report here until the big end of February here. We can kind of just zoom in here. Great little quarter popping off. Again, holding the 21 for a couple of days, then kind of trading below it, kind of holding the 34, which is the orange dotted line here, or dash line, and then kind of trading up and potentially for a larger upside surprise due to their industry of potentially having the golden goose, as they call it. That being said, again, trading well above the 21 for some time, having earnings popping up even further, trading in between the 5 and 8 exponential moving average. Again, this is indication of a very momentum driven stock if it's trading in between those moving averages, and continue riding that up until the overall disclosure of the phase 1 trials. And then kind of on top of that, you see a lot of people, a lot of volume kicking in here. Not a fear of missing out. It's kind of the same volume that we saw here. That was, again, the beginning of February, and kind of the same pattern of a huge candle up and then kind of traded down. It didn't really bounce off the 21. It kind of traded a little bit lower, kind of steadied off, but then kind of dropped off more once some of the news articles were coming about how much of the insider selling was going on, and then the incident of raising capital to pay for all this ongoing, potentially having to create $1 billion plus vials or whatever they're called to give out the vac. Now, just the last couple days, it kind of bounced off the 50 simple moving averages. Again, this is an indicator that I use quite heavily on being a big level support, because the 21 and 34 kind of failed. Again, the last 2 days trading up a little bit, has failed here at the 21, so we're going to be looking for ongoing support, breaking above the $60 level potentially, and again, we're going to kind of keep it in a very tight range, so we don't want it to break below the 51 level. Looking forth here, kind of keeping it very tight. Momentum kind of has dried off. You can kind of see here trading well below zero, kind of twirling lower. RSI has kind of been holding steady here, so this could be a potential opportunity for it to continue rising up or trading sideways in between this range until we get kind of this news article and then the insider trading stuff blown over, and we could potentially get another kick higher. Again, that could be trading sideways, and we don't want to see the 5 and 8 cross through the 21. Especially we don't want the 8 to cross through the 21. That could be potentially further downside. The volume oscillator down here as well is kind of be trading within slightly negative. We do want to see some more volume coming in. We did see some volume coming in the last 2 days of a potential higher move. Again, we're up 10% today, so that's pretty substantial of people maybe understanding the circumstances of what happened. On a weekly chart, nothing really to report here. The parabolic SAR is still below it, so that's still a strong sign. Looking here on this particular chart here on the 4-hour, since the 8 has crossed to the 21 on the 4-hour, but now it's trying to make a correction, let's actually put that to the daily chart. You can kind of see here the 8's kind of leveling off, the 21's leveling off. This is kind of what the prediction is kind of maybe potentially trading in between the $60 and $55, $51 range for some time until some of the stuff blows over and just kind of people sitting on their hands to wait to see what happens. The MACD and slow stochastic are still kind of pointing for potential nothing to break out yet. We kind of need to see the teal line kind of break above the white line for a potential move higher. Again, I think this can kind of stop out here and potentially kind of trade sideways for the time being. Again, no crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just looking at price action and using the technical analysis here to figure out potential risk to reward on various trades here. Again, here looking on the standard deviation channel, so this is the green is 1, purple is 2, red is 3. So once it kind of breaks out above the 3 deviation channel, it usually needs to come back down to the 21. So that's kind of what we're seeing here. I can see it trading again between 55 and 60, potentially even higher, even to 67 for some time once we start seeing things blow over. Also looking here on the average volume, we had some strong selling the last 2 or 3 days. Again, going down quite a bit, where you went from 87 was the high all the way down to the 45, so that's nearly a 47% drop. We can kind of look here at some fib retracements to kind of give a better sense of what could be having some overhead resistance. Again, that's kind of coming in at the $66 level for the 50% retracement, and again, we're looking at some downward support at basically the 53 and down to 51 for some downward support. Again, if that kind of breaks, we're going to be looking at 46 of that potential low there. I hope this was somewhat educational for everyone there. If you guys learned something, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. If you're interested on joining the Discord, that's going to be down below in the description. And that's where something we just kind of talk about various stocks. We share some charts, things like that, fun things. We got about 150 folks in there. And then we also have a Patreon page if you want to help support the channel. I share some of my more my active watch list and things like that, and get some more updated information from there, and directly supports the channel. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. This is Ken from the Dyslexic Investor, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.